The European Super League is back. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, it's the European Super League Episode 2. Florentino Perez strikes back. That is what we are being faced with today after today's big developing story, the big breaking news that a European Court of Justice, the basically Supreme High Court of Europe in terms of European football that is, ruled that UEFA and FIFA acted against competition law by blocking the formation of the European Super League the first time round. Remember the European Super League? Remember how happy everybody was and how everybody was loving the idea of a European Super League? Oh yeah, no one was. Everybody, well, a lot of people acted as if this was the death of football, myself included. A lot of people acted like this would kill football and this would not benefit the fans whatsoever. This was simply for the rich to be made that just a little bit richer. And everybody wasn't exactly happy with the idea of the formation. And the formatting was something left to be desired as well. Well, it seems that after the initial build-up, the extremely quick collapse, a couple of years later, it has been ruled that UEFA and FIFA have acted unfairly in banning those teams or using their power to try and inflict punishment on those teams that were looking to create the formation of this European Super League. And now it seems that if things are to go from this point forward, where this ruling is final, the Super League has a very big possibility of resurrecting itself for the near future. We're going to be talking about this big developing story. We're going to be talking about the teams that are in it. We're going to be talking about some interesting developments during that time, which could have actually foretold that this may or may not have actually been the case. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, get in the comments section. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it in regards to this huge, massive, monumental, maybe even ground-shifting topic and change to football that obviously will make for great and interesting reading from you guys. So please do get involved down there. I do encourage it. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's talk this European Super League and the potential reformation of this Super League. So, I'm not going to say that this doesn't have certain legs to run with. I do like the idea and the possibility of some sort of league happening with these kinds of teams. It does obviously make the mouth water, having the potential of seeing the likes of Liverpool take on Bayern Munich and Manchester United take on PSG and, Manchester City take on Real Madrid and Barcelona and all of that kind of stuff on a regular basis. Does sound exciting, it does sound very intriguing, but that's what the Champions League's there for. The only difference is that we'll probably see it on a more regular basis, those kinds of games, and those kind of monumental and massive games at that within European football. But that's what the Champions League's there for. And the Champions League is a spectacle. And that's why we enjoy the spectacle, because it's not something that we see often. It's not something that we see on a regular basis, which makes it so special when that Champions League comes around. We all watch the World Cup on an international level. We may not care for international football, but we care about the World Cup because it's a spectacle, because it's something that doesn't happen every single year. If it happened every single year, it would water it down, it would dilute it, it would make it feel less special, less of a special event. That's what this European Super League to me was always going to be. And when they announced the initial format of there's no relegations, there's only relegations for certain teams, or whatever the case may be, it made it feel even less special. Now, I'm not going to deny that maybe with a bit of tinkering and a bit of tweaking to those kinds of rules and formats and things, again, maybe there could be some legs to it. But I'm not completely for it because, again, it's another tournament, another batch of games to come, another competition that players need to play in or players will have to play in which will mean squads get bigger, which will mean there'll be more players added to those squads. It will harm domestic leagues right the way across Europe, and none more so, in my opinion, than the Premier League, who's got the biggest and best and in my opinion, most competitive footballing pyramid in European football. If you've got teams like Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham in this competition, and they need bigger squads in order to compete, maybe on both a domestic level, and we'll get onto the domestic level in a bit because obviously that could be interesting in terms of the Premier League, but also in this competition as well as maybe other competitions, they're going to need bigger squads. Where are they going to take those bigger squads from? The other teams in those competitions. They're going to take them from abroad. They're going to cherry pick them from the rest of the Premier League. They're going to have the money to do that. They are going to be even richer, which is why I keep saying the rich are going to get richer from this competition, and they're going to take the best players from those leagues, and they're going to make it less competitive in the domestic leagues, and they're going to only focus their main priority on the Super League, where the money is, where the big money is, the major money, the massive money. And that's where everything gets diluted again. The Super League will get more interesting, granted. You'll see the best of the best play in that league. You'll see the best teams, the best players play in that league. It'll be highly competitive. It'll be incredible football for about a year or two, and then it will fall down into mediocrity because, like I say, the spectacle will wear off. The uniqueness will wear off. The kind of once-in-a-lifetime sort of feeling you get initially will wear off. Everything will wear off, and it will become a mediocre league later on down the line. That's how it will go. It will wear off once again completely with the amount of years that pass by. And as I was saying about may or may not obviously have to focus on both domestic league and the Super League, well, if you remember, in the aftermath of what happened with the Super League initially rising and then falling, the Premier League teams all signed an agreement to say that they wouldn't break off from the Premier League. They wouldn't break off into their own league. Does that now hold weight because of today's ruling? I'm not 100% sure. If it does hold weight, then that could easily now be broken. So regardless of whether they signed it or not, seemingly after today's ruling, that's either going to hold no weight whatsoever or only a bit of weight, that they will have to leave the Premier League and form their own league, which is what the seemingly plan is to do, in order to obviously break that rule. Now, in my opinion, the Premier League is already the best league in the world, and if they really did care about the fans, they wouldn't break away from it at all. The Premier League is already the best league in the world, and I reckon the Super League needs the Premier League more than the Premier League needs the Super League. But, in saying that, the Arsenal owners, the Liverpool owners, the Manchester United owners were of course founding members of this Super League in the first place. They were heavily for this Super League. They were leading the charge on the Super League being or coming to fruition. Is that maybe the reason why Liverpool put up their club for sale over a year ago and then nothing happened since? Is that the reason why the Glazers didn't take the money that Qatar were offering and instead went with Jim Ratcliffe so they could just get pocket some money, sell a few shares, and ultimately, keep on board until the Super League thing passes, join the Super League, and then maybe increase the value of Manchester United going forward? It does now seemingly make sense as to why that may have been the case. I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all. I'm not saying I'm right in this. I'm not saying it's completely true. But it does make for interesting reading and an interesting scenario that news obviously broke, and then this news has now broke to the point where the rich are only going to get richer, and the rich teams at the top are pulling up the drawbridge, pulling up the ladder away from the teams that are below. So if you're a fan of, say, a Brighton, a Brentford, a Everton, even an Aston Villa to an extent, you're going to be left now with a league that, well, if obviously the Premier League teams do decide to join, you'll probably be left with a league in which the Super League teams will take your best players for that money, for the league, for the chance to be a part of history, for the chance to play in this super high, intense football that's going to be played week in, week out with the best teams from around Europe. You're going to be left with a diluted league. You're going to be left with a diluted league that you will have an opportunity to progress in. An opportunity, but a very slim one at that. The teams that are already going to make it are already going to have a massive head start on you all. You'll get money from the players that they sign. You'll be able to exploit that kind of possibility maybe in terms of, well, if you want this player, you're going to have to give us about 20 times the price for him, or whatever the case may be. But it will be a long process before the rest of those teams catch up. A long process before the rest of these teams catch up. And again, I'll reiterate my initial point on this. Teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus that have hit some pretty big financial issues in recent years need this more than what the Premier League do. The Premier League already have monumental amounts of cash, massive amounts of cash, and massive amounts of deals, whether it be through sponsorships or TV, that to me seem to state that if you take this, it's for greed. It is for massive, massive greed benefit of money and financial income. The Premier League does not need this. It really, really doesn't. And like I say, the novelty of it, the uniqueness of it will wear off and will dry up extremely quickly. The spectacle will die down almost instantly, because after like a season or two, you'll get bored. You'll get bored of the football. You'll get bored of the same teams playing each other every week. You'll get bored of the lack of... There will be a competitive element to it, but again, it will eventually die off, because eventually the hierarchy will set itself. The stature of that league will set itself, and it will just die a horrible death. And we'll be wondering why we tried to fix it. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for evolution of things. I'm all for things changing. And when you look at the Super League format, of course, they have changed it somewhat. There'll be 3 divisions of 64 teams. How that exactly works, I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming it's like a team of the best league will have 20 teams. The rest of the leagues will have 22 teams, I'm assuming. But then there's 14 games each season per team. 7 at home, 7 away. So it's basically like the Champions League format for next season. There's a bigger league, but you'll only play a select few of those teams in that league. Which, again, I don't understand why this is happening. This is weird. That's a weird sort of format to have, in my opinion. It's strange. It's stupid. It's definitely weird. There'll be relegations. There'll be promotions. It'll be an open competition. There'll be 2 phases of league and playoffs. Why? What's the point? That's according to Fabrizio Romano, who's been all over this morning. He's put that out there, regurgitating it, obviously, from the people in the know. I just don't understand. I don't understand, and I don't think the Premier League should go for it. I can see them going for it because I know what kind of people we have in power at our biggest and best football clubs that this Premier League has to offer. And of course, I know that these lot were obviously the brains, or part of the brains and masterminds behind the formation of the Super League in the first place. And obviously, they were seemingly reluctant to obviously give up the Super League in the first place, to the point where it had to go away and die down for a couple of years before they got this ruling today. Are the Glazers going to be extremely happy about this ruling? I would imagine so. Are Liverpool going to be happy about this ruling? I'd imagine that their interest and things would have peaked up in regards to this news today. I'm not so sure if they'll go for it anymore. I can see United going for it. Arsenal under the Cronkies, maybe. Tottenham under Daniel Levy, probably. Chelsea with their ownership, maybe. City under their ownership, Again, it wouldn't make much sense given the fact that they've got as much money in the world as they've got loads of money. So I don't know if they will be 100% on board with it. But at the end of the day, we'll see who are the rich, greedy ones that just want that little bit extra, and the ones that actually care for football, care for the fans. Like I say, I don't necessarily completely disagree with some sort of league evolving and the Champions League evolving in that regard. But creating a European Super League that's going to basically have the best teams in the world play against each other isn't exactly a bad idea. But at the same time, if you have the likes of Manchester City playing Real Madrid in Miami, for example, and then you have the next week Liverpool against Bayern Munich play in Dubai or something like that, how is that exactly fair on fans who pay a lot of money as it is already, but then they have to spend even more travelling week in, week out, going to different places, different countries? The experiences will be great, but the money aspect isn't going to be there for those fans on a regular basis. Not for them all anyway. Not for all of them. But for a few, it's going to be fine. But for the many, clearly won't be. And I just don't think it's taken into account this sort of thought process. Like I say, revamp the Champions League by all means. Revamp it with a bit of thought process behind it and a bit of brains behind the operation. Yes, it can be revamped and reformatized to obviously make it and improve it. No problem with that whatsoever if that's the intention. But to kind of have this ladder pulled up from above everybody else, so the select few teams, the rich get richer, and the select few teams elevate themselves above and beyond the rest, is completely wrong in my opinion. And like I say, the Super League is a want, is a need by the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus. That's why they stayed in it for so long, and that's why Florentino Perez was extremely angry when the initial idea of the Super League completely collapsed. But it is a need that they want the Premier League. They need the Premier League in this Super League. Otherwise, it's not necessarily a Super League. They want and need the Premier League, but the Premier League doesn't need them. And that's where I hope that the line is drawn and the Premier League don't get drawn into this conversation again. But look, those are just my thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this brand new chapter in what is known as the European Super League. What are your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever we want to call it, on this particular topic? I'd love to know them down below in the comment section, because I'm sure you'll all make for interesting and great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for stopping by and watching. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and I'll see and speak to you all again very soon.